Hey everyone, it's Sean from Crafted Elements, and in this very quick video, I'm going to explain our new second generation of the EcoSled. Now, here at Crafted Elements, we are in the middle of our Q4 frenzy, so I don't have the time to make a full demonstration, well edited, well put together video. So it's really just a short and sweet summary of how these things work. Now, if you've looked at how to make your own router sled, maybe out of plywood or something like that, you know that you could generally create something half decent out of plywood and spare wood and put it together and okay. But wood, obviously wood on wood or even acrylic on wood is very high friction. It's definitely not going to have the fit and finish and the ease of use as one of these will. But these are not nearly as nice as our higher end original router sleds, which use all steel and acrylic linear motion components. So again, these are a lower end version of that, but they are perfect for someone that is just doing projects occasionally, or you have a lower budget or the lack of shop space or whatever it may be. It's basically between a DIY homebrew system that you'd make out of plywood or whatever, and our higher end sled. So if you're looking for like the best of the best, check out our higher end linear bearing and linear motion based component sleds. But right now I want to talk about these. Now these are the second generation of our EcoSled. First generation was a kit. You had to cut the pieces and the panels and they weren't included. Now we have a complete redesign and you have a small and a large, but the fundamental design is the same. You end up with a channel or in what we call the router carriage to put any sort of router on. Now this is a trim router, but you can use a full-size router. Now, as long as your router base is 6 inches or less, it will fit within these channels. And it's really quite as simple as providing a lifted base that you can shift along your slab or your table or whatever workpiece you have that will not fit through your shop planer. I mean, if you've got a shop planer and you're doing something small, use a shop planer, it's much easier. But if you're doing a bigger slab or you want to get a big live edge piece of wood or something and flatten it out, these are really a good option. Now the cool thing is about the second generation here is that they are, again, fully assembled. They do have the walls and literally everything comes in the box ready to go other than the router and your router base. But they have an adjustable design now. So you can actually raise and lower these risers to go between 1, 2, and 3 inches under the base. If you're doing a thinner slab, then you would obviously put it in the lower section. You have 1 inch under this base. So obviously it's not going to fit on that slab, it's a thicker slab, but you can see that those adjustments allow you to use the router at different heights, 1, 2, or 3 inches, not having to worry about using a router collet extension. So again, a fully adjustable design that you just tighten up with these provided knobs. Now, as I mentioned, it comes in 2 different sizes. You have our 24 inch, but that's 24 inch for the full body. The actual effective slab leveling size is 19 inch. So you've got 19 inches between here and here, and it will accommodate an up to 2 inch diameter router bit. So that 19 inches is assuming you're using a router with a 2 inch bit. This guy over here has a 47 inch long body. So again, roughly 47 from here to here. But the actual channel is 42 inches wide. So if you have a 2 inch router bit again on your router, you can do 42 inches per pass and just shift it back and forth. Now, the cool thing about these versus our first generation, again, they are a standalone unit because of these risers. So you no longer actually need rails, but we do have optional rails, which I will get to in a second. These, again, have an HDPE design, so they are low friction. And the entire concept is you've taken your board or your piece of wood or your table, you've secured it to your workbench, you've got your router out, and you're literally just going to shift it and make your passes back and forth, so on and so forth until you do your entire slab. Maybe you're doing multiple passes, you can start again and go from there. Now, the advantage of the freehand design is kind of obvious. You can kind of work around these wonky slabs. So even though this to here is more than 19 inches, at any given point, it's not more than 19 inches. So you can kind of twist this small guy around if you have like an awkward slab, as long as you have a flat tabletop to obviously do this with. However, doing this and keeping it all level and straight and parallel is more of an art than a science, as we like to say. So we do have our optional rail system. Now this rail system is very, very simple. It's 2 pieces of 1/2 inch HDPE plastic that we mill and we pre-drill and countersink holes along the top, I think every 6 or 7 inches. So you can mount these on plywood risers to your workbench. I say plywood risers because I've got a couple of just MDF risers here, but this is literally a 3/4 inch MDF that I cut down to 1.5 inches wide, 48 inches long. So again, whatever you're making, 48 inches, 96 inches, 120 inches, you can go as long as you want because you can actually butt these things up against each other to make an infinitely long section. So if you want a slab leveling setup that's 96 inches long with the rails, so you would actually just end up getting 2 pairs of these 48-inch rail toppers. So again, just quantity 2 because they are sold as a pair. Simply to mount these, you're going to take your 3/4 inch stacked or layered MDF or 3/4 inch plywood, anything that's like structurally sound and that's not going to expand and contract with moisture a lot. And then you're going to simply add these rail toppers on top of them and screw them down. And you can make this as high as you want. You may want to put it up here, that's fine. But keep in mind that you want to have your total height of these rail toppers up to your maximum slab leveling width minus 1/2 inch. So if you are milling up to 3 inch, maybe 4, let's say 3 inch slabs, you'll want to have this 2.5 inch, and then you've got your extra 1/2 inch there. Because once you go to the rail system, you don't really need the adjustable feature of it anymore. So just to quickly drive this home and show you what I mean, we've got our 2 rails that we're going to set up here. Now you're going to mount them to your workbench permanently, obviously screwing them down, which they are not here. And then you're going to take your router carriage, your EcoSled, and put it on the lowest level. So essentially that 1 inch level, and lock it in place, and then permanently attach them to your workbench. And what that's going to do is it's going to essentially give you a track system where you can now slide it against these rails, and you can see how smooth that is with these with HDPE plastic on HDPE plastic, giving you a more conventional router sled setup. And again, you're going to be shifting your carriage to the left or right, and then you're going to be using your router to go back and forth to actually do your milling. So again, I'm making this video very, very quickly. It's very, off the cuff. So forgive me if I'm not doing a full demonstration, but essentially you can probably visualize, especially if you've seen some of our other router sled videos or the previous EcoSled video, how this works. It's really not a complicated system. Essentially, we're just taking the, fabrication part and the frustration part out of having to make one of these. We make them in volume on our CNC machines. They're precision cut. And they're guaranteed to be awesome. And all you really need to do is place your order for a small, a large, and you can also, of course, get those optional HDPE rails toppers if you actually want to have a permanent setup like this, where you're actually going to use those and slide them across like a track. So again, those HDPE rail toppers are completely optional. You can certainly just buy this router setup, this router carriage setup, which is a small one if you're a large one, and kind of freehand it using a flat workbench. If you want the rails, you can of course do that, and you can add as many as you want in an infinite length, as I said before. As I hope you enjoyed watching this video, I hope you appreciate the new design of the EcoSled V2, and maybe it's a good option if you're looking at one of our router sleds, but either can't justify the price or just want something that you're going to use very rarely or just occasionally in your home shop. Again, guys, craftedelements.com is where you can get this. Head over to the router sled section and you can shop our entire line of EcoSleds, our trim router sled, and our big linear motion router sleds as well. Thanks for watching and happy making.